convocation for the commencement ceremony. Please be seated. On behalf of the physics department, its faculty, staff, myself as chair, I wish to extend a warm welcome and congratulations to our graduates, and a warm welcome to the families and friends who have joined us, to our faculty, our staff, our students, graduate students, who have recently obtained their masters and PhDs. Graduates, time go by fast. It was only a few years ago that you walked into the rooms of Boston University as freshmen, and now here you are. You are graduating, you have become physicists, and join our worldwide community of physicists. I have often taught a class of freshman physics for entering students, but I didn't have this privilege with you because that fall I was called to teach a graduate course in computational physics for a colleague who was on sabbatical. But as I generally say to the freshmen to start the studies, physics consists in a quantitative description of natural phenomena formulated in terms of mathematics. And through your studies, through your lectures, discussion sessions, laboratories, through the research projects in which many of you have engaged, you have learned a lot about these phenomena and the tools that are necessary to describe them. And they are marvelous phenomena. Phenomena that span a range from the infinity of the cosmos to the infinitesimally small of subnuclear particles, from the arcane ways in which electrons pair themselves in metal to produce superconductivity, or the wonderful organization of atoms and molecules that underlies biological phenomena. You are not the only ones. Physicists are not the only one that marvel at the beauty of this phenomena. In the course of my career, I had many testimonials of the fact that several people, not in the physics profession, are fascinated and interested in physics. Maybe one of the most striking instances of that happened many years ago. I was a scientist at the Brookhaven laboratory then, and on return from a trip to Europe, the immigration officer said, "Kennedy, look at my passport, look at me," and said, "You're a physicist." And that was written nowhere on my passport. I was puzzled. Actually, as he told me, it turned out that he loved physics. And I had just published an article on the Scientific American, and he had recognized my name. Wow. That was not the only time, probably the most striking though. But we see talking with people, we see from the success of our colleagues who managed to write very popular book that makes the bestseller list, make a lot of money for them, but that's a side remark, and popularize the field of physics. But of course, you are privileged among all of these people because you not only know about physical phenomena, but you have developed the tools that we use to describe them, to understand them, to describe them. This ability of the mind to dwell into the essence of these phenomena, to rationalize them, to find the methods to classify and describe them, is extremely valuable. It will be crucial for you, of course, if you continue in the field of physics. Many of you are going to go to graduate schools, then you work in academia, in laboratory, But it is also very valued at the profession at large. This ability of the physicists to analyze phenomena in a quantitative way is very valued in many other professions. And I've seen indeed physicists be very successful in finance, in the legal profession, in medicine, and in many other endeavors. So, as we are getting to the moment in which you'll be moving on, I would like to exhort you to continue with your interest in physics and also to deepen your knowledge of the physical phenomena as well as of the methods that we use to analyze them. Continue to read, maintain your interest. I do that myself. On occasions, I've been telling my students about the books I have from the great series of theoretical physics book, authors by Landau and Lifshitz, by Landau and Lifshitz. Landau was a Russian Nobel Prize winner, and Lifshitz was his collaborator, and they wrote a great series of treatises on theoretical physics. I have several of these volumes. I bought them when I was a student in Torino, and they are in French. They are in French because at that time the Soviet Union was subsidizing publication of books by their scholars, very cheap, in French, and was selling them around the world. Maybe it was a propaganda tool, but it doesn't matter. I got this book at a very good price, so I bought them. And I was telling my students on occasion, I pick one of these books. And at that time, I started reading it. And so I review some beautiful topics of theoretical physics. I practice my French. And I go to sleep very fast. Well, leaving aside the go to sleep, yes, please continue with your interest in physics. And that, whether you stay in the physics profession or move to other fields, will make your careers rewarding and enjoyable. And this is indeed what I wish for you, careers that will be very successful, but at the same time enjoyable and rewarding. And so I congratulate you. And I would like also to ask you to stay in touch with us. We have been extremely pleased to have you as our students, and we would like to hear from you in the future about your successes, which certainly are forthcoming. So on behalf of all of my colleagues, our warmest congratulations. And now, it is my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. He is Professor Sheldon Glashow. Professor Glashow is the Nobel Prize recipient for physics, 1979 Nobel Prize recipient. He was awarded the Nobel Prize together with Professors Abdul Salam and Steven Weinberg for having introduced, for having discovered and formulated the theory of unified electrical and weak interaction, the so-called electroweak theory. This theory is a marvelous theory which has been supported and verified by a large number of physics experiments. And together with the theory of nuclear interaction, which goes under the name of quantum chromodynamics, forms what is known today as the standard model of particle physics. Now, Shelley was for many years a professor at Harvard, and then he joined our faculty, where he continues to do research and teach. He has recently introduced a very interesting course on energy, and I am delighted that Shelley is willing who has been willing to be our keynote speaker. His title is going to be Physics, the Best of All Majors. Thank you.
Pleasure to be here this morning. It's not raining. I had to talk someplace. As the title, of course, is Physics, the Best of All Measures, and most of us regard physics as the queen of the sciences. Today I have the honor and the pleasure to welcome some of her most recently anointed subjects, along with their families, faculty, and friends. Having mastered physics, our new graduates are prepared to pursue virtually any career. Most of you, of course, aim to be practicing professional physicists, working in industry, in government, in academia, for the military, as entrepreneurs, who knows. You may address societal issues, such as clean energy and climate change, or you may create useful new materials, or perhaps useless new materials, or investigate the science of sports, or the science of music, or study the properties of matter under weird conditions, such as ultra-low temperature, immense pressure, high energy, or in the depths of space. But these are not your only options. You may at some point migrate to an allied science, such as geology, astronomy, computer science, or you may opt for law, medicine, management, architecture, journalism, finance, or even politics, for each of which an understanding of physics and mathematics is becoming essential. For example, a physicist served for 15 years as the first president of Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, he was a crook. Another is the current German chancellor. At our last commencement, we Americans had 3 physicists in Congress, but only one survived the last election. We lost 1 Democrat and 1 Republican physicist. However, there are about 30 astronaut physicists, one of whom is now up in space installing the alpha magnetic spectrometer, which is an extremely exciting instrument, exciting to the faculty and exciting to the students, but perhaps not to the parents. So this guy is aboard the Endeavour. The main purpose of this penultimate shuttle mission is to install a large, I said that already. Many full-time physicists have made major contributions to other sciences, such as paleontology, who killed the dinosaurs, astronomy, the expanding universe, mathematics, field medalists, some of them are physicists, archaeology, proving that there are no secret passages in the pyramids, etc., etc. Max Delbruck and Francis Crick were both trained in physics. They helped create molecular biology, and incidentally, Erwin Schrödinger, whose equation is kind of familiar to most of us, played a key role in the formulation of molecular biology. Some of you may find careers related to the life sciences as well. In fact, let me tell you a story about 3 Nobel Prize winners, all of them physicists. Wally Gilbert was once a professor of theoretical physics at Harvard. I took his course. I couldn't understand a word of it. He switched to biology and he learned how to sequence DNA. He founded Biogen. He became a multimillionaire. He is now a renowned photographer and art collector. Alan Cormack, who mostly did particle physics at Tufts and who was its longtime chairman of its physics department, was co-inventor with another English physicist of the first medical scanners. And finally, Andrei Sakharov, who I had the pleasure of knowing, was a gifted cosmologist, and he was the first guy to offer a beginning of an explanation for why we're made of matter, not antimatter. He convinced the Soviet government to sign the Limited Test Ban Treaty and became a champion of human rights. Now, each of these three physicists won a Nobel Prize, one in chemistry, one in medicine, the other in peace. Imagine that you do choose science as a career. Must you forsake the liberal arts? Not at all. 2 centuries ago, an astronomer physicist discovered the planet Uranus, and he also, in physics, discovered the existence of infrared radiation, and he also composed music. And you can buy his music today, still, at Amazon, his symphonies. Einstein also never abandoned his violin. James Clerk Maxwell, who's very familiar to all of the students, he created the theory of electromagnetism. His equations are emblazoned in day-glow colors on t-shirts. He was also a bit of a poet, and I found on the web that he published poems, and among them I found, I'll quote one little tidbit. I didn't say great poet. Atoms you told me were discrete, then knew they could not be discreter. Who knows how many millions meet within a cubic millimeter? I told you. More recently, 2 famous chemists wrote the historical play Oxygen, involving discussions among the wives of the 3 people who claim to have discovered oxygen. It's been produced throughout the world, and I never saw it, I read it, it's quite good. And just 2 years ago, Lisa Randall, who's a star physicist at Harvard, a particle theorist, had her first opera staged, both in Paris, where it did not get very good reviews, and in Barcelona, where it had rave reviews. So much for C.P. Snow in his allegation that there were 2 disparate cultures. Let me return to our own magnificent crop of graduates. Some of you high-energy types have thrived at our new program abroad. You spent a semester at the University of Geneva while doing research at CERN. You were pioneers. Hats off to the 7 of you. 7 dwarfs, 7 hills of Rome, 7 days of the week, 7 pioneers. Andrea, Ashley, Chelsea, Elim, Max, and 2 Mikes. But I hope that all of our gifted graduates, all of them, not just the high-energy types, will have learned that, as our chairman said, that studying physics is not only fun, but it's sensible. As BU physics grads, you have the opportunity to enter careers that can be endlessly enjoyable and enriching. We thank you all for your hard work, as we thank your parents for their generous support, but most of all, of course, we congratulate each and every one of our graduates, both undergraduate and graduate, on this most marvelous and memorable occasion.
Thank you very much, Shelley. We will proceed in just a moment to the award of the diplomas. Before, I would like to award a posthumous degree for one of our graduate students. A few years ago, one of our graduate students, Alvaro Rocaro, died suddenly of natural causes. He was brilliant, and we, of course, regretted so much his early passing away. But, as I said, he was a brilliant graduate student, moving toward his doctorate, and he already fulfilled all of the requirements for a Master of Arts degree. So the graduate school decided that we could award him posthumously a master's degree, which I'm very pleased to do, and his brother Alfredo is here to receive the award on his behalf. Steve Allen, who was on the podium with us, was Alvaro's advisor. Also, I would like briefly to read the names of students who have recently received the Master of Arts in Physics and their PhD in Physics. Adam Avakian for the Master of Arts, Adrian Avakian, Rafael Hippolito, George Kaiser, Kian Lee, J. Max Nalty, David Newby, John Ogren. And for the doctorate, Kevin An, Mark Bettnan, Claudia De Grandi, Alexander De Masi, Sung-Hu Han, Alexander Peterson, Eddie Pinnick, Armin Ramanisisan, Christopher Sanborn, Jia Shao, Hidefumi Tomita, Joseph Stefan Wenzler, and Huetao Zhu. During the year, we award a few prizes. There are 2 prizes have been awarded to our undergraduates. I'm going to mention them as we give out the diplomas. But please allow me also to mention that our graduate student, Gustavo Marquez Tavares, has been awarded the Gertrude and Maurice Goldhaber Award for Excellence in Physics, that Jeremy Ladd has been awarded the Alvaro Rocaro Prize, also for Excellence in Physics, and then Alex Long has been awarded the Teaching Fellow of the Year recognition, both by the Physics Department and the College of Art and Sciences. And now I would like to call on the Director of Undergraduate Studies, Professor Schmaltz, to come to the podium. I will call the students, and please, as I mention your name and just a few things about your degree, come to the podium, and then I congratulate you, and you receive the diploma from Professor Schmaltz. Chelsea Lynn Bartram. Chelsea with a minor in mathematics. She received the award cum laude with distinction. And as sophomore and junior, Chelsea researched graphene with Professor Bennett Goldberg. For the second half year of junior year, she studied abroad at CERN, working with the neutrino group at the University of Geneva. During the senior year, Chelsea worked with Professor Kearns at Kearns and the Boston University Super K neutrino group. Astronomy, cum laude with distinction. As a freshman, Eileen worked in the astronomy department using 3 different methods to calculate masses of meteoroids, and then attended the poster session, presented the poster. As a junior, she also studied abroad in the program of studies in Geneva, which we have recently inaugurated. She studied at the University of Geneva and CERN, and she was working with our colleague, Tuli Cabose, on the CMS experiment, one of the 2 major experiments, major huge detectors at the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. She continued working with Professor Bose in her senior year on her senior thesis, search for the heavy top quark partner with the CMS detector. After graduation, Eileen will be attending the University of Maryland, College Park for her PhD. Congratulations. Benjamin Alexander Cooper. Benjamin is getting his degree in physics, and he did research with engineering professor Alexander Sergienko on quantum optics. He also worked with Professor Steve Allen on neutron detection. After graduation, Ben plans to take a year to work and apply to graduate school in fall. Michael Stephen Dimitriev. Michael is getting his degree in physics and mathematics, cum laude. Michael worked with research with the Boston University CMS group. I mentioned already this major experiment with the Large Hadron Collider. After graduation, Michael will be attending the physics PhD program at Georgia Tech. Daniel Eduardo Fernandez. Daniel is currently working with Professor Stephen Allen on a directional dark matter detector. And after graduation, Daniel will continue to work at BU with his current group before pursuing an advanced degree in the future. David Gilbert Francesconi. David is getting his degree in physics and mathematics, summa cum laude. In the fall, David will attend Northeastern University PhD program to study theoretical high-energy physics. Michael Thomas Hedger. Michael? Michael is currently working on WIMP neutron detection, and I have to explain, WIMP does not mean WIMP, but it means weakly interacting a massive particle neutron detection with Professor Stephen Allen. In 2010, Michael worked with the BU CMS group, and after graduation, he will work on various projects at the University of Hawaii, Manoa. He hopes to pursue graduate school in the future. Natalie Laura Lee Hernandez. Natalie is getting her degree in astronomy and physics. In Natalie's sophomore year, she joined the Planetary Sciences and Space Sciences group at the Center for Space Physics with Professor John Clark on the Aurora project. One of her developments was to introduce analysis software specifically designed to locate the magnetic footprint of Callisto and to determine the brightness, one of the satellites of Jupiter, and determine the brightness of the ultraviolet auroral emission on Jupiter at this location. After graduation, Natalie will pursue a PhD in physics at Lehigh University. Christopher Thomas Janiszewski. Christopher is getting his degree in astronomy and physics. Christopher researched infrared dark clouds and night mass star formation in the disk of the galaxy. High mass star formation, I guess. Christopher will be working at a consulting firm in Boston for a few years before returning to graduate school for a PhD in astronomy. Francine Jessica Klein. Natalie is getting her major in physics, and she worked with Professor Raj Mohanty on nanosensor. Congratulations. Lucy Sylvie. Lucy will be getting her degree in physics with a minor in biology. Lucy did research in transplant surgery at the Boston Medical Center under the direction of Dr. Gautam, studying the standard of living patients receiving kidneys for deceased donors of 3 different categories: ECD, DCD, and ECD-DCD, which unfortunately I don't know what the acronyms are. After graduation, Lucy will be pursuing a master's in medical science at Boston University Medical School, and plans to continue kidney transplant research at the Boston Medical Center. She will also be running her second Boston, half marathon, not Michael Alan Lloyd. Michael is getting his degree in physics, cum laude with distinction. Michael participated in the program of study in Geneva and did silicon photomultiplier research at CERN, working on detection simulation and determination of attitude, it says, and control system on the time CubeSat experiment with Professor Theodor Fritz. This summer, Michael will be continue to work with Professor Fritz, I believe, in the Boston University student program for applications and training. In the future, he plans to take graduate school in either physics or engineering. Gregory Matthew Meyer. Physics. Gregory has worked for Professor Stephen Allen in the Advanced Laboratory. In preparing, the Advanced Laboratory is one of our major courses for the undergraduate program, and Professor Allen, and Greg has worked with him, has been recently revamping the set of experiments for the Advanced Lab. Gregory will was also one of the 2011 American Parliamentary Debate National Champions. So you will be one of the physics representatives at the Philosophy Congress. Gregory will be working as an executive at a consulting firm. Good. Julie Mae Moran. Julie is getting a degree in astronomy and physics. She was a Claire Botulus Research Scholar, Chambliss Astronomy Achievement Student Award recipient, and recipient of the Honorable Mention at the American Astronomical Society 215th Annual Meeting. For the past 3 years, Julie has been working with Professor Dan Clements in the astronomy department, doing research on the galactic plane infrared polarization survey in an effort to learn more about the essentially unknown nature of the magnetic field within the Milky Way of our galaxy. Julie plans to attend the certificate program in the fall, the certificate program in medical dosimetry at Suffolk University. Richard Frederick Obrecht. Richard is getting his degree in physics and geophysics, planet science. Richard worked with the Mohanty group last summer, designing and fabricating nanodevices. Richard has now taken a year off to travel, but plans to apply to graduate school for physics. Patel. Daniel Patel is getting his degree in physics. And yet, plans for the future, but I'm sure that'll be great, and I will do that. Robert D. Pratt. Robert is getting his degree in astronomy and physics. Robert did research on the effect of thermal tides on the spike and measurements of the Martian atmosphere. Robert plans to be a staff researcher at the Boston University Center for Space Physics. Zachary Mark Rains. Zachary is getting his bachelor degree in physics with a minor in mathematics. He is graduating summa cum laude with distinction, and he is the recipient of the Alumni Student Award in Physics and SCAIS Scholarship. Zach performed research on simulating the light collection system for the NEDM experiment at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Actually, that I know what it stands. Electric dipole moment, okay? Neutron electric dipole moment, under Professor James Miller and Professor Lee Roberts. Zach will be attending graduate school at the University of Maryland, College Park. Claire Wallace Richards. Claire is getting a bachelor degree in physics, and she's graduating summa cum laude, and she's the recipient of the Harold Hayes Scholarship and the College Prize for Excellence in Physics Award. Claire studied neuron alignment in the brain using tools from statistical physics under the supervision of Andrew Inglis. And Claire will be working at the Immune Disease Institute in Boston doing biochemical research and plans to apply to medical school in the future. Ashley Erin Rubinstein. Ashley gets her bachelor degree in physics, cum laude. Ashley was also in Geneva. She worked on the compact muon solenoid that the CMS, I mentioned several times before, experiment at CERN for 2 years. During her senior year, she worked at the Massachusetts General Hospital, studying the effect of motion on the treatment of liver tumors using proton radiation therapy. Ashley will pursue a PhD in medical physics at the University of Texas, Houston, and the Anderson Cancer Center. She hopes to continue studying motion management in radiation therapy or to enter the field of nuclear medicine. If cancer research doesn't work out, she hopes to pursue a career in health science. Jeffrey William Russo. Jeffrey is getting his degree in astronomy and physics, magna cum laude. Jeffrey did research on the Mars atmosphere with Paul Withers in the astronomy department. William Jacob Shane. William is getting his degree in physics with minors in mathematics and music. William worked with Tim Cook in astronomy and will work with Professor David Yellen during the summer. William will be attending our own graduate school at Boston University. Scott Joseph Stately. Scott Joseph Stackley. Scott is getting his degree in physics with a minor in mathematics. Scott worked with Professor Ed Kearns in 2009 on the mini-clean dark matter experiment. In the summer of 2010, he worked at Fermilab on the microboom experiment. Scott plans to work. Troy Cameron Stedman. Troy is getting his degree in physics with a minor in biology. He worked with Professor Averett over the summer in 2010. After graduation, Troy plans to work. Hallie This Stone. Hallie is getting her degree in astronomy and physics and marine science. Hallie has worked for Professor Masher and Dr. Klostad in the astronomy department at Boston University, doing research on active galactic nuclei and how they vary over time. She also worked for Dr. Ganapathy in the physics department at the University of Buffalo, doing research on graphene at low temperature. After graduation, Hallie will be working for Professor Bruce Anderson this summer next year, doing physical oceanography research. In the fall, she plans to apply to graduate school for physical oceanography. Andrea Jane Welsh. Andrea is getting her major in physics and mathematics with a minor in Latin. After graduation, Andrea will be attending the University of Texas at Austin for the mathematics PhD program. Max David Yellen. Max is getting his bachelor degree in physics. Max participated in the first year of the Geneva physics program. He worked on the monitored lift tube chambers of the Atlas Muon system in CERN. He's currently working in Professor Allen's group on neutron detectors. After graduation, Max plans to apply to graduate school next year while continuing to work in Professor Allen's group. Michael Chao-Zhu. Michael is getting his degree in physics. Michael did research on the brain-computer interfacing with Professors Frank Guttner and Jonathan Brumber in the Department of Cognitive and Neural Sciences. Michael plans to continue working with Professors Gunther and Brumberg on their BCI, that stands for Brain-Computer Interfacing, paradigm, and to independently learn about various fields of science and technology, such as mathematical logic, theoretical computer science, and several programming languages. I would like to offer a great applause to our graduates. Your thanks to the families and friends. And finally, please, let me thank the staff of the physics faculty who has please be seated. Cabello, Courtney Clark, Richard Lasky, Solomon Posner, Rena Summers, and our student working with us, Siri Hamilton. Thank you to all of you. This concludes the physics convocation ceremony. Please allow the faculty and students to march out of the room and then join us for a reception that's waiting us outside. Thank you.